Oh yes, the horse game. How could I not talk about the horse game? I have to, I need to farm engagement, says the motherfucker who posts once every election cycle. I couldn't help but fall into the rabbit hole after discovering this game, or should I say the horse hole. Even now, as I'm recording the script, I have it running in the background. The horse girls have been consuming my every thought for the past 2 weeks. And I'll be real, while playing the game and watching the anime, I couldn't help but feel rather captivated by the story and the interesting world-building quirks of Musume, so I compiled a short one with a few scattered thoughts about it. Okay homeboy, how about we start with a question. What is your least favorite race? Mine is Tenno. That shit kills my runs every time. In the universe of Musume, horse girl racing is absolutely massive. I would go as far as to say that it is the most massive sporting event there is in the canon. I mean, just take a look at these crowds. I distinctly remember 2 instances in the anime when the announcer said that the gathered crowd was something like 190,000 people. That's more than the total capacity of the biggest stadium on Earth. This one in India for cricket? Really? And that's only for the live crowd gathered for regional and national events. Just imagine what the total audience would be for an international event. But there are other things about the skill of Musume that are subtly terrifying. Namely, one thing, their anatomy. The fastest human in recorded history is Usain Bolt, who achieved a top speed of 44.7 kilometers per hour. That's 27.8 miles per hour to those of you who live in a country whose military budget could end world hunger. This speed was achieved only momentarily doing a 100-meter dash, but these horses run 50% faster than that at distances that are at a minimum 10 times bigger. Did you just hear what I fucking said? Their average speed over the whole race ranges from 65 to 70 kilometers per hour. And do you want to know a piece of information that completely ruined my day? There is a certain speed threshold at which point the human foot does not break the surface tension of the water, provided you are going fast enough. Do you know what that speed is? 67 miles per hour. Yeah, it's still quite a ways off, that's why it ruined my day, but it would be pretty cool to see the horses run on water. But wait, let's not put the cart before the horse, as this is just their average speed. The Umas are going the fastest during the last spurt, and their top speed can be much higher than the average when they're fully locked in. This is the second video in a row where I'm citing a scientific paper, but please bear with me. Or should I say, horse with me. According to a 2010 paper by Peter Wayland of the Southern Methodist University, how fast a human can go depends on the amount of force they apply once their foot hits the ground, and is primarily limited by the amount of time said foot is in contact with the ground. Different running styles, such as hopping on one leg and running backwards, allow for more force to be applied on the ground per step. And through a bunch of graphs and calculations that I'm too lazy to read, the conclusion reached was that if a human was able to make optimal use of their musculature and managed to push the ground with as much force as they could muster without tearing a muscle, the human body could achieve speeds of 35 to 40 miles per hour. That's gonna be 56.3 to 64.4 kilometers per hour if your country's flag is not on the moon. In other words, the horse girls on average are running faster than the fucking anatomical limit for a human being. Given that they resemble humans a lot more than they resemble horses, I would say that's pretty impressive. But I'll do you one better. By analyzing the footage of the Umas running, we see that their feet comes into contact with the ground for an average of 3 frames. Given that the game is running at 30 frames per second, we know that each frame corresponds to 33.3 milliseconds. By that metric, an Uma's foot stays in contact with the ground for about 100 milliseconds. Incidentally, top sprinters in real life also have a foot-to-ground contact time of 100 milliseconds, so I am going to assume that the horse girls are running about as optimally as those elite athletes. Now, here in this race, from the frame my Uma crosses the 200-meter mark to the frame in which she crosses the finish line, exactly 7.79 seconds elapsed. Yes, this fat ass ran 200 meters in a little under 8 seconds. Putting her speed at around 25 meters per second, equivalent to 92 kilometers per hour. And if we make a really stupid calculation and equate the top speed reached during the final spurt to the top speed achieved by Usain Bolt during his record, we can infer that the anatomical limit for how fast a horse girl can go is fucking 82.17 miles per hour, or 132 kilometers per hour. That's faster than the speed limit on most highways on Earth, and more than enough to run on the surface of the water without sinking. Horse Jesus can be real, and she could be coming soon if power creep gets too bad. Just imagine if they min-max for aerodynamics instead of being drippy. The world of Musume is genuinely absurd, and I love it, but of course there are other aspects to the horseverse beyond just running. There is one in particular that isn't all that explored neither in the game nor in the anime, at least as far as Season 2 Episode 9 8 minutes and 27 seconds, that being that the horses are not just horses, they are also idols. After racing, the Umas are expected to perform a song on a stage, with the top 3 runners being the main singers and the rest being backup dancers. As far as I could tell, these performances happen after every official race, and they're fully sung and choreographed, and that got me thinking. The horse girls are supposed to be idols on top of being top athletes. What happens if one is really cracked at running, but she doesn't know how to sing? Do they, like, use autotune? What if one gets stage fright? But besides that, do they all have to learn like 4 different choreographies depending on whether they got first, second, third or a lower place? I have been a musical theater kid in the past, and I know that there is a non-negligible amount of dedication that goes into practicing choreographies. What if they're good runners but bad dancers? You can expect all of the Umas to be talented at both these very distinct skill sets, but even when they are, there is another thing that I think would be the biggest factor when it comes to performing on a stage after a race. If there's one thing that both life and this game have taught me is that your psychological state has a huge sway over how well you're able to perform a certain task. I'm sure you've seen that meme of how the people who got first and third places in a competition are super pumped, but the guy who got second feels awful. That is a very real phenomenon. The first place is happy because they got first, obviously, and the third place is just happy to have been placed at all. But the person in second place was so close to greatness but ended up coming short. That feeling can be very demoralizing, like ruins your day / week / month / year depending on the scale of the competition. So with that in mind, imagine losing the finals you've been training for the past 3 years and you need to be a backup dancer to your op. If that were me, all I'm saying is that there's a 15% chance that one of us would leave the stage in a body bag. Oh, but it's alright because in the anime world they're all friends. Dog, there's gotta be at least one person who has beef with the other. For real, performing and keeping up appearances can be really draining. Having to do that while faking a smile in front of thousands of people, I'd imagine their face completely drops just as soon as they step backstage. As I said, I have been watching the anime, and one thing that I couldn't help but notice is just how having a therapist would make the life of these girls considerably better. Hell, there's even a whole-ass job called a sports psychologist that is tailor-made for the sort of problems a lot of them face. You didn't sign up for spoilers when you clicked this video, so I'm not gonna give you any, but like, from what I've seen, there can be a myriad of factors that might fuck up your mental state when it comes to performing competitively. It could be pressure from your family, a dream to fulfill, maybe all the investment you've had with all the years of constant training and all. In a race, there can only be one winner. The rest, regardless of how much they want it, they cannot have the dub. This is one thing that I think about a little bit too much when I'm playing this game. It is a roguelite, and the result of the races is not deterministic, but rather determined by RNG. They know you like gotchas, so they put a gotcha on your gotcha, and boy, nothing gets me going quite like a bit of gambling.
Let's go gambling!
How much that RNG influences your placement will depend on how well you've trained your horse, as well as their mood. Sometimes you can do everything right and you'll still arrive in 11th place, and sometimes you can manage to clutch a dub in the most unlikely of scenarios. Now, imagine a scenario where 2 contenders cross the finish line at the exact same time to the point where the placement had to be decided via picture. One of them will win and the other will get the dreaded second place. But the thing is that in moments like this, it is perfectly possible that the one who got in second would have had a better performance than any other day. It's just that in that specific day, they couldn't give it their all. They fell a little too short. And the other one, well, they did about average. And that's the thing that gets me, because second place feels like such a kick in the nuts compared to what reality might be. When you win, you think you're better than what you actually are, and when you lose, you think you're worse than what you actually are, because you can only ever compare yourself to the specific limits of first and second place, and the other ones too, I guess. That's how the opponent you meet at the semifinals can be harder than the one you met at the finals, if you consider the unlikely possibility that this side is the lower half in terms of performance, and this one is the upper half. Placements can be deceiving. Okay, is there anything else that I want to talk about? Oh yeah, right, okay, so the character designers of this game are cowards, because they don't ever show you whether an Uma has human ears. That part is always conveniently covered by the hair. Even though it is implied that they only have the horse ears because of the phones they use, they also have smartphones that could not be able to reach the horse ear. Which is it, Cygames? You can either tell me or give me the stamp support card. Potentia Domini, chartem auxili specialem, kita sun black, evoco. Motherfucker.